any form of Christianity is concerned about direction. After you die. Direction meaning up or down. Are you going to heaven or are you going to hell? That's a big deal for Christians. Are you saved or are you damned? For a Catholic, the road to heaven is controlled by one institution, and that is the church. The Catholic Church is God's representative on earth. They control access to heaven. How do you get saved? You go to the church, and the church tells you what you need to do in order to be saved. Pray the rosary, go to confession, say 5 Hail Marys, whatever it is. The church is God's representative on earth, and it brings people together. It's kind of the toll gate that controls the road to heaven, and the one you don't want to go down. But that gives the church a tremendous amount of power, and therefore, for a period of time during the Middle Ages, what was the church doing? Selling indulgences. That is, you were a bad boy. Yeah, you're married, but the widow across the way was looking pretty hot the other day. Oops. Are you going to hell now? You go to the church. And for a while, the church was selling indulgences. Now, Martin Luther did not like that. But Martin Luther went even further, and particularly the people that followed, people like Calvin, who said, look, forget the church. No. The church is not as important as your own direct relationship with God. This is a classic difference between Catholicism and Protestantism. For a Catholic, the church is the avenue to God, which is why they could sell indulgences. That's why it tells you to say the 5 Hail Marys. It's why it tells you when you go to confession, you've got to do this stuff. But Protestantism comes along and says, no, forget the church. You have a direct relationship with God. It is you and what you do. You don't need the church. You pray to God. You read the Bible. And this begins the process of moving towards capitalism. Because what Protestantism is a highly individualistic religion. It says every individual has responsibility for their own salvation. That's not true for the Catholic Church. The church has your responsibility. You go to the church and they tell you what you need to do. In that sense, the Catholic Church is a group-oriented religion, whereas Protestantism is an individualistic-oriented religion. Now, that does not make Protestants happier people than Catholics. Quite the opposite. Are people happier all by themselves or in groups? In prison, if you really want to punish them, they're already in prison. If you really want to do something really drastic to them, what do?
Solitary.
Put them in solitary. Now, these early Protestants, highly individualistic. One of the earlier forms of this was the Quakers. The Quakers actually would go to church on Sunday. The church bell would ring. They get in their little, horse-drawn carts, and they go to church. They would file in quietly into the church, not saying a word. The men would go to one side of the church, the women to the other. They would sit there quietly praying as individuals. No sermon, no conversation. An hour later, the church bell would ring again, and they would get up and go out. Because they did not want to minister. They didn't want anybody standing in the way between you and your individual relationship with God. Protestants, much more individualistic than Catholics. And what does individualism help give rise to is entrepreneurialism. That is, an individual goes out on their own and makes money. Okay, that's the first ingredient. The second ingredient is, it follows from what I've just said. Each individual has responsibility for their own salvation. Who's supposed to read the Bible according to the Protestants?
Everyone.
Everybody. Who's supposed to read and interpret the Bible for a Catholic? The Pope, ultimately, the Cardinal, the Bishop, and the priesthood. In other words, there is an educated elite in the church that often has the ability to read in the original languages that the Bible is written in, Aramaic, and then translated into Latin, which is why many of the Catholic Church for centuries used to have its masses in what language?
Latin.
Latin. Is that a living language that anybody speaks? No, it's a dead language. No one speaks it except for the Vatican. Okay, that's a highly esoteric language. The church, the Catholic Church, was the institution that first invented the university, where you train an elite in this esoteric knowledge to read and interpret the Bible in the original languages. Do you need to have the normal run-of-the-mill person in Catholicism be able to read the Bible? No, you go to your priest, and the priest will tell you what you need to know. But not Protestant. You've got to read that Bible. Ever go into a hotel, motel, and on the side of the bed, you pull open the drawer and find a Bible? Who put that there? A Protestant or a Catholic?
Protestant.
Protestant. No, if a Catholic puts something there, it'll be a notice to come to Mass on Sunday. But you won't find the Bible. What does that mean? That everybody must be able to read the Bible, which means this is what's called mass literacy. While the Catholic Church may have invented the university, Protestants invented the school. A school is for everybody to learn to read and write. And before you can start a business, you've got to read, write, and do basic math. Second step towards capitalism. But now comes the third one. This is much more important. I'm going to put a star by it. There is this strange form of materialism found amongst Protestants. Protestants believe that God, in many cases, wants you to be rich. Wants you to be rich. Now, materialism is the valuing of material economic success. Money, gold, riches, all that stuff is what materialism is about. And we know that there is a natural human tendency to want that kind of stuff. There have been many materialistic societies in human history. Rome was highly materialistic. Did they accumulate huge amounts of wealth and riches? Oh yeah. Did they conquer most of the known world in that period of time? Did they construct huge buildings like the Colosseum? All roads led to Rome. All that kind of stuff. They worked their butts off to accumulate that wealth. Okay. So what's a natural human thing to want to do next? Once you've worked a lot to get the wealth. Party! Come on, you busted your butt. You want to enjoy it. What's the point otherwise? So, did the Romans have orgies? Yep. Did they have huge celebrations? Yep. Did they drink a lot of wine? Yep. And they partied like there was no... The Colosseum, remember, was a place they went to enjoy themselves, watching slaves die. But they partied hardy. Okay, that's not unusual. I mean, it just makes kind of sense, right? You work hard, you get stuff, you want to enjoy the stuff. But here's what's weird about Protestants. Yep, the Protestant religion says, yep, get the stuff. Go out and get that stuff. You want that stuff. And they want you to work hard day after day, night after night, to get that stuff. This is sometimes referred to as the Protestant work ethic. The Protestant work ethic. God wants you to work hard and accumulate riches. That's what God wants you to do. Vic was fascinated by some American Protestants, particularly people like Benjamin Franklin, who is famous for a number of sayings. You know Ben Franklin's sayings? I don't know if you can read this stuff because it's pretty small. Can anybody from your history of American Revolution give me a Ben Franklin saying? This is, it's sad. American patriotism. This isn't there as like it used to be in my day. Okay, no one knows anything that Ben Franklin said?
In God we trust.
No, but you're getting close. There it is.
I
Yeah,
can't read the left.
read
I can't read the right one, but I can read the left one. Early to bed, early to rise.
Okay, good. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. In other words, Ben Franklin is a good Protestant, and he says everybody should do what? Get up early and
Work.
work, work, work. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. As Ben Franklin saying, get out there, get a lot of money, work your butt off.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what are you supposed to do with that money? That's the second one you can't read. It says, a penny saved
It's a penny earned.
is a penny earned. Ben Franklin, Protestant. Penny saved is a penny earned. So what are you supposed to do with that money that you've now worked hard for? Save it. And here's what's weird about this form of materialism. Yes, most people want stuff. But most people only want stuff so they can enjoy it. But the Protestant religion tells them, what should they do with that money? Keep it, save it, reinvest it. Because that is not your money. That is God's money. God has wanted you to accumulate that as a sign of divine salvation. God's going to use you as kind of an advertisement about the power of salvation. Look, Renee has made $1 million. Wouldn't you like to be Renee? Yes, you would. And the reason why she's made that money is because of, not her individual, because of God. So God wants you to make this money, but not enjoy a penny of it. Put it right back into the business for the glory of God. This is weird stuff. This is really, really unnatural. Nobody wants to work hard so that they can live like a puppet. But does this make these people incredibly productive? If every cent you make just goes back into the business, and every cent that makes goes back into the business, does that have an explosive impact on economic, technological growth? And does that give rise to capitalism? Yeah, that's the key. This weird, weird kind of materialism, where you're supposed to work hard but not enjoy a penny. You know, an example of this from literature. Ever read Dickens or see a movie about Dickens' Christmas Carol? Who's the major character in that? Scrooge. Was that guy wealthy? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Did he spend a lot of money on anybody, even including himself? No. All that he did was what? Save it. That's all he did. He just saved the money because he was a good Protestant. Ever hear of somebody called John D. Rockefeller? One of the first American fortunes made back in the 1800s. John D. Rockefeller, when he died, it was said of him that when he died in a bank was the first dime he ever made because he did not spend it on anything. His own son, John D. Rockefeller II, was treated like a servant. He was expected to work for anything he got because that is what God wants him to do. This is bizarre behavior on the part of Protestants. Protestants are very happy people. Look at Scrooge. Does he seem like a very happy guy? No, they're not. Even Durkheim knew this in his famous study of suicide. First sociological study looking at suicide rates. Who commits more suicide? Protestants or Catholics? Protestants. You're all by yourself. Your whole life is making